Have you ever noticed that there are some people who seem ready when opportunity arrives? Like they were somehow prepared for a moment they could not have predicted. And then there are others, maybe we have been here ourselves, who keep waiting for breakthroughs. But somehow, when it comes, we are not quite ready for it. And I've been thinking about why that is. Okay. Maybe we have been asking the wrong question. Instead of asking, when will my breakthrough come? Maybe we should first ask, am I becoming the kind of a person who is ready for it when it finally comes? That question changed the way I think about growth. Okay. But before we go any further, I want to pause and say something that I believe is important. There is an old saying that has stayed with me for a long time. Actually, a proverb. Okay. It says, in all thy getting, get understanding. In all thy getting, get understanding. I should think this line is a very wise advice for any one of us. And I think about that in the context of everything we have been doing together in this series. Okay. We have been auditing our identities, remember? We have been releasing dead weight. We have been talking about posture and preparation and becoming. Yes, we have been doing all that. And all of that is valuable. All of it matters. But none of it, not one single piece of it, will work the way it should if we don't understand why we are doing it. Okay? Because doing without understanding is just an activity. And an activity without intention is just noise. You see? So before we prepare, understand why you are preparing. Before you build, understand what you are building toward. Before you become, understand who you are becoming for. Because understanding is just knowledge. Understanding is not just a knowledge, okay? Understanding is the difference between someone who is merely busy and someone who is truly building. You see? So this person is intentional, basically, in what he's doing. The person who's doing with understanding. So this is what I want us to, to position ourselves in when we draw back from what we have done up to this point. We understand why we have done all the things that we have done. We have audited ourselves. We asked ourselves a question, who am I? And then we came to audit ourselves. And now we are here. We need to understand why we are doing all that. You see? And this channel, Led by Light, Second Thought, I hope it has always been about building, not just moving. You see? So in our last conversation, we completed what I call the identity audit. Remember, we looked honestly at ourselves, what belongs in our lives, what no longer serves us, what habits should stay, what mindset should go, what relationships help us grow, and which ones quietly hold us back. And at first, it felt like we were losing something when we did that. At least that's how I felt. Remember, you took your corner there and did your own audit. So, when I did it, sometimes you feel like you're stripping yourself of everything and you'll be left with nothing. You see. Like I said, like I'm saying, that at first we felt like we were losing, like we were emptying our hands without knowing what would fill them. And actually that is faith, when you do something without knowing what will follow next, that is faith. But doing that, something good for, not just doing things and then you want to say it's faith. We should be responsible in what we are doing. And here we are, I will say, evolving. We are rising. We are doing good, you see. But I have come to realize we are not losing, okay? When we do that, like the audit that we did, it was for our good. We were positioning, okay? We were dealing with the dead weight so that we could focus, prepare, and make room for what was coming, And that changed everything, if not something, in our lives. I mean, even receiving. How do you receive anything when your hands are full? Right? I mean, you cannot expect anything. When your hands are already full, what do you expect to receive? Even if somebody can give you something right at that moment, you won't be able to receive it because your hands are full. So we were preparing ourselves to receive. We were emptying our pockets, our hands, so that we can receive, you see. Yeah. Because here's what I've discovered. Sometimes we believe that growth means adding more. No. More information, more opportunities, more connections, more recognition, more of everything. And these things, to be honest, in the end, they just bring you stress. You see, and those are the things that we are trying to get rid of. But some of life's greatest breakthroughs begin with less. You see, less comparison, less clutter, less distraction, less pretending, less trying to be everything for everyone. Yeah. Because clutter does not only fill our homes, It fills our minds, our calendars, our attention, you see, our energy. And when everything is demanding our attention, very little receives our intention, you see. So less is more. It's not about having less. It's about making room for what matters most. You see? The identity audit didn't just change my surroundings. It changed my posture, you know. Now, when I say posture, I don't mean the way I stand. I mean the way I live, the way I think, the way I prepare, the way I make decisions, the way I protect my attention. Because as gatekeepers of our own lives, we decide what enters. What thoughts receive our attention? What habits receive our energy? What relationships receive our time? What distractions no longer have access to us? You see, that is posture. Yes. And posture is what makes you practice before the opportunity arrives. You know? So let me ask you a few honest questions. If you hope to lead one day, how are you leading yourself today? You see? If you hope to build something meaningful, what skills are you developing today? If you want greater responsibility, are you becoming trustworthy with the responsibilities you already have? Those are the questions that I'm posing to you, and I'm not exonerated, I'm not immune. They are also posed to me as well. Because yes, what I have come to understand, okay, breakthrough does not just arrive. Breakthrough recognizes you. You know, it looks for someone who has been preparing even when nobody was watching. Yeah. Someone who kept going quietly, consistently, without applause. Simply because they knew they were becoming something. And don't get me wrong, okay? Breakthrough can find you anytime, anyhow. But the question is, will you be ready when it finally arrives? Will you be ready? Remember what I asked when we started this video. I asked, I said, have you ever noticed that some people seem ready when opportunity arrives? There are those people. You know, it seems like they've been waiting for it. like they were somehow prepared for a moment they could not have predicted. That's what I said in the beginning. And I said, and then there are others. Maybe we've been here ourselves who keep waiting for their breakthrough. You see, but somehow when it comes, we are not quite ready for it. You see, and maybe posture looks like taking that course we have been postponing. Remember, with your audit, you came to notice what you have and what you don't have. You know, those things that maybe you have been postponing, those things that have been quietly hurting you, you came to the realization now that actually these ones have to go, these ones must stay. And this is how, from now, henceforth, this is what I must do. So maybe that course, you know, it's something that you have been postponing. And maybe this is about time because of where you are going. You see, learning a new skill, reading that book you keep meaning to start, improving the way you communicate, keeping your word even when nobody would notice if you didn't, managing your time more intentionally, showing up consistently, not because someone is watching, but because you are becoming. And becoming is always happening with or without our awareness. The question is, are we becoming intentionally? Or are we simply letting life happen to us? You know, if we are not aware of what's happening, it becomes unfortunate, honestly, when that opportunity comes and goes because you were unaware, you were caught off guard, and then the opportunity push, it goes. But if we are intentional, we know, we are aware of where we are, where we want to be, whom we want to become. And we work, you know, you take it one step at a time to almost reaching there. And that when that opportunity comes, that's why some will just grab it with both hands because they are not caught off guard. You know, that millionaire, he has been becoming because he wanted to be a millionaire. Even when that time comes, they win a lottery, they will know what to do with it because they've been waiting for it. They've been living like one. You see. So I have also come to realize something else. Okay. Every one of us has a meaningful work to contribute to. You know, I came through to a passage that I read. It goes like, we are God's handiwork, created in Christ to do good works that God planned ahead of time for us to do. I'll just repeat it, okay? We are God's handiwork, created in Christ to do good works that God planned ahead of time for us to do. You see, just there, I took a moment to say, actually, we are told that we are gods. God, as the Creator, He created us. And we as His creatures, we are, also expected to create. And here He is again. We are as His handiworks, created to do good works, and God planned it ahead of time for us to do. So you see, it only now dawns to me that, the Bible, I'm not trying to preach. It's me trying to show you that, it's only now it makes sense to me. You see, he planned all this before the beginning of time, and He knew that Lulu and Deborah and Petros, at this time in lifetime, they are to do 1, 2, 3. He planned it ahead of time. So even us, we are supposed to be planning ahead, to not be caught unawares. I don't know, but this is, this, I don't know how it touched me. It really touched me, but anyway, I hope you get what I'm trying to say. Like I'm saying, every one of us has a meaningful work to contribute to. Work that solves problems, work that encourages, work that creates, work that serves, work that leaves people better than we found them. You see, we should be actually worried, most of us, when we find ourselves in people's lives and we leave them hating. We're making it our business to make other people miserable. We should be really concerned, honestly. You see, because these are all the good things that we are supposed to be doing, the contribution that we are supposed to be doing in people's lives. Wherever we find ourselves, we must be the solution where there is none. We must be the bread where there is none. Yeah. And maybe success is not actually the destination. We all want to be millionaires, trillionaires. We all want all these nice things, but actually, that is not the destination. We are created in Christ to do good works that God planned ahead of time for us to do. I hope we are going somewhere. Remember, we ask ourselves, after we have done all that, after we ask ourselves that question, who am I? And then did the audit, and then where am I going now? You see, so this should give us a bit of some direction, at least to say, where are we going? You see? Yeah. Like I said, maybe success is not actually the destination. Maybe contribution is. We need to contribute in that manner in life. Because when we focus on becoming people who contribute with integrity, trust naturally begins to grow. Opportunities begin to appear. People begin to notice. Not because we chased recognition, but because we became prepared. And maybe that is why character matters so much. Because character determines what we can sustain. Anyone can show up for an opportunity. Anyone. But only the person with the character that match it can sustain that can sustain what comes after. You see. Well, for me personally, this process of becoming also means creating space for something I don't always talk about enough. Prayer, reflection, discernment. Well, I think at the same time I am trying, hence even this channel, you see, because it forces me to reflect a lot. And I've come to realize that on my own, I've tried that on my own with my my wisdom, my intelligence, I alone. It's not enough. I can do nothing. I can achieve nothing. You see. So, because the quieter my life becomes, the easier it is to notice what truly matters. You know? So those, when you did your audit, the things that you took with, they make you to realize certain things that actually this was actually holding me back. This was actually clouding my judgment. But these ones, they bring me peace. You see? And it's so interesting to see when we serve the benefits, it becomes like a ripple effect. Opportunities, they just recognize you, they just come. You are not seeking for any recognition, but you will be recognized. Yeah. So, like I said, the easier it is to sense the direction I believe God is placing before me. When you have peace, when there's silence around you, when you meditate, when you pray, when you reflect, and always ask God for that spirit of discernment, you things become much easier. You see. Yeah. But here's something I've come to understand also about discernment. Discernment becomes very quiet, almost silent, to a person filled with worry. Worry crowds it out. Noise drowns it. Fear distorts it. you see. But discernment works so much better to a person who is in motion, to a person who is busy becoming. You see, because when you are actively preparing, actively growing, actively positioning yourself, you begin to notice things you couldn't see when you were standing still in your worry. You know, I always say when you were there, taking a corner, feeling sorry for yourself, you miss out on other things. You begin to notice which doors are opening and which ones are closing, you know, and you start to develop the wisdom to know the difference. That's why it's so important to always, when you pray, to ask God for that spirit of discernment. Yeah, these things I'm learning as I go. Yeah, I am becoming because yes, what I have learned, not every door that is shut is locked. Sometimes a closed door is simply saying not yet, or not this way, or I am protecting you from something you cannot see from where you are standing. And on the other side, not every door that is open for you. You see, I have a beautiful song in my other channel, Cleanse My Path. It's a beautiful song. If you listen to it, I won't say much about it. Yeah, please just listen to it. It's Cleanse My Path. I will just leave the link on the description. It reminds me these lines: not every door that is open for you. You see, just because an opportunity appears, just because something looks good, doesn't automatically mean it's the right thing at the right time for the right reason. Not everything good is God good. Yep. And that is why discernment matters. That is why the posture of becoming includes learning to be still enough to hear and brave enough to obey what you hear. You see? So pray, not just for open doors, but for wisdom to know which ones to walk through. You see, this is the best advice I could give you. I wish someone gave me this advice, or I was quiet enough to hear, because I'm not the first person to be sharing a message similar to this one. The messages have been shared all these years, but because I was not, my posture was not right, I was maybe full of noise, full of worry, I couldn't hear all these things, but I thank God only now. I thank God. It's never too late. Anyway, there's no difference before God between a minute and 1,000 years. So all these things, I always believe that they happen for a reason. And when the time is right, the clarity, it becomes just overwhelming. But I thank God. So, and in those moments when you are not sure, when everything feels uncertain, when the way forward is not clear, pray that your faith does not fail. Because your faith determines your rest. Okay? Not your circumstances, not your bank account, not your timeline. Your faith determines your rest. Not what others think of how your life looks like right now. Your faith determines your rest. And there are so many people with situation much better than you might find yourself in, or I find myself in, with gallons of of dollars, but no rest. You see. So I've learned that with faith you find rest, because it pleases God. And yes, perhaps the most beautiful thing I want to leave you with from all of this, once you start becoming, something shifts. The worry, that heavy, paralyzing worry, begins to loosen its grip. Not because everything is suddenly figured out, not because the path is suddenly clear, but because you begin to sense deep in your spirit that you are not doing this alone. That God is working alongside you, not waiting for you to figure it all out first. And one more thing, destiny picks the brave and kind. Destiny picks the brave and the kind, not the perfect, not the most qualified, not the ones with the most impressive credentials. The brave who kept going even when it was hard. And the kind who remembered to bring others along with them as they grew. You see. So I'm proud of myself, because I always say, I hope this video will make a difference in someone's life. One person, it's a lot, you see. So the kind who remembers to bring others along with them as they grow. So be brave enough to keep becoming, and kind enough to never forget where you come from. It's very important. Because we are becoming and we are on our way to greatness. So do not forget small beginnings. Do not forget where you come from. And before I let you go today, I want to leave you with something practical, okay? Because becoming real, intentional becoming does not happen in isolation. It happens in community, in relationship, in the company of people who genuinely want the best for you. So as you position yourself for where you are going, here are a few things I want to encourage you to consider. Okay. First, start where you are, not where you wish you were, not where you think you should be, but exactly where you are right now with exactly what you have. Because building from scratch is not only possible, it has been done by people with far less than what you already carry. Use what works. Do what you can do. Start, even if it's small, even if nobody is watching yet. You see. And secondly, learn intentionally. Learn from those who have walked this path before you. Seek out mentors, people who genuinely celebrate your growth, not your stagnation. You see. Look for strategic helpers. Those people God places in your path, not by accident, but by design. You see, and learn from failure. Other people's failures, your own failures, learn from them. Because failure, when approached with humility, is not the end of your story. It is one of the most honest and effective teachers you will ever have. You see? And maybe that's why even myself, I felt that, I will share my my failures, my past, for others perhaps to benefit, Yeah. Thirdly, include God in the conversation. Now, I want to be honest with you. I am not a pastor. I don't stand here as someone with all the spiritual answers, okay? But I am someone who has learned, sometimes through great difficulty, that there is wisdom in not trying to carry everything alone. Yes, I'm saying this from experience, and you have noticed I say this a lot. Alone we are nothing. Alone we can do nothing. Alone we can achieve nothing. Okay. So talk to him. Tell him where you are going. Share with him what you need. Be honest about your weaknesses. Okay? He already knows them anyway. Yeah, but share them anyway. And in those moments when the weight feels too heavy, when the road feels too long, when you don't even have the words, cry to him as your ultimate helper, not as a last resort, but as a first response. Okay. And if you feel led to go deeper into that journey, find a good church, find a pastor, find people of faith who can walk with you in ways that I cannot. See, guys, I'm saying this because, I'm trying not to be selfish. I'm sharing myself in one video like that. And because this that I'm sharing has brought me here. And I think wherever you are, you can use this because it's never the end of the world. Okay? You are created for greatness. Remember, you are more, so much more than you have been settling for. So don't give up. Look at Lulu and gain strength, gather courage, and keep on becoming. Okay? I'm saying all this from the bottom of my heart, because I can point you in a direction, but there are those who are called and equipped to walk with you all the way there. Okay? And you deserve that kind of support. Okay? So, as you walk this posture of becoming, understand why you are doing it. Start where you are. Use what you have. Learn from everyone around you. Surround yourself with people who genuinely want you to grow. Learn from failure, yours and others, and trust the one who placed the desire within you in the first place. Because in all you're getting, get understanding. And who you are becoming was always bigger than who you have been. The world needs the version of you that is still becoming. Okay? So don't rush it. Don't abandon it. And don't do it alone. Guys, as always, these are my notes, and I thought I should share them with you. This is Led by Light, second thought. Yeah. And remember, less noise, more intention, less worry, more becoming. In all you're getting, get understanding. I thank you guys for your time. I thank you for your attention. And I hope that this message found you at the right time, and that it will find a special place in your heart. We are becoming. Do not despair. Do not give up. One step at a time. We are getting there. Guys, I love you and stay blessed. Thank you.